What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to the Grid VR, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in virtual reality. It's Saturday, the 28th of October, 2017, and all I can say this week is, I just can't take it anymore, Captain. We've got Payday 2 gets heisting, Obduction gets better, Job Simulator gets unlimited, Blade Runner Memory Lab, Pimax stretch goals, 5 nights at Freddys, and much more. Today, I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, crush that like button, enjoy, and welcome to the Grid VR. The Payday 2 VR beta from Overkill Software has a release date, and it's the 16th of November. The VR version of the game will be free for existing owners of Payday 2, which is even sweeter if you watched the Grid episode on the 9th of June and were one of the first 5 million people to nab a free copy of the game. For those who haven't played the game, like me, and are instead waiting for the VR release, here is a brief history on Payday 2. Payday 2 is a PvE, aka player versus enemy 4-player co-op game where you, either by yourself or along with 3 other real or AI players, put on masks and attempt to rob banks, shops, and armored cars, amongst other things. So unlike Call of Duty multiplayer, you're not playing against other players. You're playing with other players in order to win together, and the stronger your team members, the better off your team is. Now, what's really cool about this release is that it will be cross-platform, as in VR players will be able to play alongside non-VR players. What's not so cool is that the game will only use a type of dash teleport for locomotion at this stage, which looks like a quick run and will have a cooldown time between dashes. And while this may sound shit, and by God, to me that sounds shit, I have to think that it's some kind of game balancing mechanic between real and VR players, especially considering that VR players can reach around corners and shoot where non-VR players cannot. And while the team did say that they would consider smooth locomotion after release, it's not really good enough. The beta will be updated as they go in an attempt to balance the VR versus non-VR mechanics, and performance optimization is clearly a focus for the team to make sure you don't need a butch graphics card to run the game on low. The game only fully supports Vive at this stage, and Oculus support will be looked into if there is enough interest. You mean from the other 50% of your potential player base? Still, I've got a Rift and I'm going to be playing the beta, so even if the controls aren't ideal for the Rift straight out of the gate, it's nothing drastic. And while I'm happy to wait for the day to see how everything is handled, there is a lot of info on weapons and the like in an AMA held by 2 of the producers of the game, and you can read all the gory details by checking the description for a link to that AMA. Obduction, the spiritual successor to Mist and Riven from Cyan Inc., has had a 3 gig update aimed at improving the VR experience of the game. Obduction was one of my favourite VR titles when it released, but if you saw this video I put up back in March, you'll know that the touch update basically broke the whole thing. The main gripes being that you had giant ET-like pointy finger hands the whole time, object interaction was unnatural and insanely buggy, text was basically unreadable, 3D characters suddenly went 2D, and system performance took a massive nosedive, making the game unplayable, or at least unbelievable. So there it sat, alone, unplayed, lonely, and begging to be given a second chance. Well, I'm happy to report the hands look and feel better, are a more realistic size and shape, and move like hands should. Object interaction is vastly improved, and there was no immersion breaking glitches that I saw from picking up and moving objects around, even when switching hands. Notes and books that you pick up have been increased in size, so text is now easy to read. The 3D characters are back to being 3D, and performance is not perfect.
Oh, you're kidding me.
But a shitload better.
Okay.
Just be aware you will need a decent CPU and GPU to back this one up, so if you are running minimum VR spec, then probably give this one a miss, in VR at least. My advice is to start with auto detect settings, lower back down one preset, reduce the shadows to low, and if you have to, use the snap turning and teleportation feature to improve the performance of the game. And if you still have issues, then send your DXDiag file to support@cyan.com payday.com. To do that, just hit the start button on your keyboard, type dxdiag, let it run, choose save all information, and attach that file to the email along with a brief description of any issues you're experiencing. I know it's not ideal, but doing this helps a lot more than just taking to the forums and hating on the game. Blade Runner Memory Lab is up now on the Oculus Store. This is a free single-player, touch-supported 360 experience that follows on from Blade Runner Replicant Pursuit on the Gear VR. It's set in the 2049 Blade Runner universe, has a cool little story around exploring and reconstructing memories, and features Microsoft's holographic capture technology, which blends CGI graphics with live capture. It's a decent sized download at 10 gig with a 16 gig install size, but it's light on the system and is definitely a step in the right direction as far as VR experiences go, especially when supporting big budget films. I say that because every time something like this or this comes out to support this or this, I feel like a potential mainstream VR consumer in the making just died. Experiences like Blade Runner Memory Lab should be the absolute minimum for VR experiences, in my opinion, and hopefully things only go up from here. And briefly, Job Simulator just got hit with a free infinite overtime update for those of you who want to clock up some more hours and get aboard the virtual fidget spinner hype train. Everyone's doing it. Alchemy Labs have outdone themselves this time and permanently dropped the price of the game to $20, so there's not many excuses left for you to not, hey, get back to work. A fan-made Five Nights at Freddy's VR game from Dialgy, I don't know. It just got an update that features a special Halloween night. This room-scale VR remake of the popular Jump Scare Fest on PC, iOS and Android from Scott Cawthon now supports both Vive and Rift controllers and is highly likely to make you your pants. It's really well done, and if you just don't have enough jump scares in your life, then check the description for a download link to this free VR release. Also of note is that the real Five Nights at Freddy's bundle currently has a massive 80% off in the Steam Halloween sale, and I've put a link for that one in the description too. The Pimax Kickstarter has just surpassed the Oculus Rift's original DK1 Kickstarter at $2.5 million pledged, and there's still a week to go. The Pimax headsets, which I covered in more detail in the September 15th episode of The Grid, have recently hit a series of goals that get backers a free additional face cushion, a standard head strap upgrade, a custom prescription VR frame and cooling fan, and a $100 coupon for the wireless transmitter add-on. Now, 3 pieces of selected content aimed at developers and gamers will be added, and you may also notice that the $3 million stretch goal is up next, which will see an eye tracking module developed, discounted, or potentially even included with the Pimax headset. So far, the reviews from the Pimax 8K have actually been quite positive, and it will be interesting to see if the company can deliver off the back of such a huge Kickstarter. The tech heads over at Adobe captured this 360 scene using a GoPro Odyssey camera and Google's Jump platform to stitch the video. And as you would expect from a standard 360 video, the user, Stephen DeVerde in this case, could turn his head left or right and their headset would track that movement. But the headset wouldn't accurately translate leaning to the side due to the fixed location of the camera when the footage was recorded. And it's this leaning in and out and to the side that gives the user a real sense of depth. But once Adobe's new Sidewinder tech was enabled, he was able to move his head positionally to give the scene a much greater 3D presence. Project Sidewinder does this by taking footage with depth maps like this, where the lighter colored pixels are closer and dimmer pixels are further away, to approximate what objects should look like from different points of view in a 360 video or photo. And while this tech is still in its infancy and does result in a fair bit of artifacting, it's cool to see ground being made in this field. some Nvidia employees have put up a video demonstrating near-eye light field holographic rendering with Sperical Waves, which is, I've got no fucking clue what that means. But apparently you use Sperical Waves to render near-eye holographic light fields? Sorry, I've well and truly hit my limit here, but check the description if you want more info on that one, and if you can, help elaborate in the comments. Cheers. A small inventive team of two have created an accessory for the Rift, Vive and PSVR that blows on your face. Must resist. Dirty joke. The Zephyr, or ZephVR, consists of two small fans that are activated when you do something in VR that would result in a breeze in the real world, such as running around or sticking your head out the car window. What's cool about this tech is the software uses machine learning to pick out wind-inducing events from a game's existing audio tracks, so it doesn't rely on support from the developers of a game, and because of that, it essentially works with every game. Aside from adding realism, a light breeze in VR does help to reduce motion sickness while simultaneously helping to keep you cool. Just stay away from the freak sci-fi lightning storms because you don't want to go from this to this. The Kickstarter launches November 2nd, so check the description below if you want to get blown away. Over on the Oculus forums, Cyber Reality has announced that the Oculus Store will feature dynamic bundle pricing, meaning that if you've already bought any of the apps in a bundle, your bundle price will be discounted to account for the value of the apps you already own. This is an awesome feature you may have already seen on Steam and a great way to save money when purchasing games. Valve has released the Steam VR media player for programs who are opted into their Steam VR beta program. It supports multiple layouts, it's visually crisp, and is nice because it's native. Codec support is limited, as is the case with a lot of VR media players, and for those of you wondering, no, it won't broadcast to your friends on Steam that Big Damo is now furiously playing Pulp Friction, Shaving Ryan's Privates, or Tiger's Wood. Also, Nvidia has unveiled the GTX 1070 Ti, which could be good for GTX 1060 or below owners looking to upgrade. Onward has a new EVAC mode where you have to fend off an unlimited amount of NPCs in an attempt to get to the chopper! Nimsony has updated his work-in-progress Halo VR project again with various weapon mechanics. Check the description and get subbed to this dude's channel. The Steam and Oculus Halloween sales are on now, and if you check the description, I've put a link to all the VR titles that are on sale right now until the 1st of November. And I've also dropped a link to the Alien Isolation on Steam, as it's currently 70% off and worth the buy if you want to play it in VR using the mod from this video. And finally, researchers from Tel Aviv University in Israel are bringing static photos to life so you can have that rapey smile you've always wanted, or that moving profile photo you've always dreamed of. I mean, just look at that steak. And that's this week on the Grid VR. If you have more you would like to add, then hit me up in the comments below and let's discuss. If you like this video, then crush that like button, hit the XO logo to subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!